World Business Watch.
Welcome to another episode of World of Africa on WION The World is One. I'm Calden Ongmo, bringing to you the show from Johannesburg, South Africa. On the show this week, we focus on the rising cases of cholera and Mpox and the tragic fire in Kenya school that resulted in 21 deaths. It's a double whammy for the African continent. While the continent is battered by Mpox outbreaks, a report published by the World Health Organization shows that number of deaths caused by cholera are on the rise in Africa. The WHO data shows over 4,000 people died from the disease last year, a 71% increase compared to 2022. The number of reported cases also increased by 13%.
The global cholera statistics for 2023 published by the World Health Organization show that geographical distribution of cholera changed significantly from 2022 to 2023, with a 32% decrease in cases reported from West Asia and Asia and a 125% increase in Africa. This is the first year that multiple countries have reported community deaths, which occur outside of health facilities. In 5 out of 13 reporting countries, over a third of cholera cases occurred in the community, highlighting serious gaps in access to treatment and the need to strengthen this area of response. While Afghanistan reported the highest number of cases with over 222,000, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Malawi, Mozambique and Haiti also continue to report significant outbreaks of over 30,000 cases per country. The global cholera crisis continues into 2024, with 22 countries currently reporting active outbreaks, although the number of cases reported so far in 2024 is lower compared to the same period last year, according to preliminary data. The continent is faced by another crisis, Mpox outbreaks. In a significant step to strengthen and accelerate the response, the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the WHO have launched a joint continental response plan.
Director General of WHO has issued an emergency use listing of the vaccines that exist and has agreed that Gavi and UNICEF can start to work together to procure the vaccines. I mean, we anticipate that the regulatory approvals for the use of these vaccines, which have already been approved for use in the US, in Europe, can be quickly organized so that the countries, as they are receiving the vaccine supplies, can start to use them. As far as I know, the DRC has already approved.
DRC, the epicenter of the outbreak, received its shipments of Mpox vaccines from the European Union, consisting of 200,000 doses.
So there are 200,000 doses arriving in the Democratic Republic of the Congo in response to the Mpox crisis. So 2 weeks after the declaration by Africa CDC and the WHO of a continental and international health emergency, we are responding to the need to bring much vaccines that were available in order to vaccinate the at-risk population.
Africa CDC says since the start of 2024, There have been over 5,000 confirmed Mpox cases across the continent, with 643 associated deaths, representing a sharp escalation in both infections and fatalities compared to previous years. The cases in Congo constituted 91% of the total number. Most Mpox infections in Congo and Burundi, the second most affected country, are in children under the age of 15. Africa Bureau, WION, World is One.
It's been quite a tragic week for Kenya. Last Thursday, in a fire that began at midnight, 21 boys of the hillside and the Rasha primary were burnt alive as they slept. 13 more contracted debilitating and life-threatening burns. Since then, mysterious fires have continued engulfing schools and dorms across the nation. But what is causing these institutions to go up in flames?
On the night of 5th September, a dormitory for boys aged 10 to 14 at the hillside Endarasha Primary in Nyeri County, 150 kilometers from the capital of Nairobi, caught fire. The structure, built mostly out of wooden planks, was engulfed in flames in mere minutes. 21 of the 150 young boys housed at this dorm perished in the blaze over the course of the night, with 13 others sustaining grave third-degree burns. Rescue efforts were further hampered by the roads left muddy from the ongoing monsoon. At dawn, the true scale of the carnage from the blaze was visible. Charred bodies lay strewn in the debris of what had been a lively residence merely a night ago.
We saw several children in there that had been burnt. I was just lucky to save one of them, but I heard that he later died. But it was very troubling and a sad tragedy.
Loved ones and relatives of the children, upon hearing about the tragedy, rushed down to the campus to ensure that their wards were okay. For many, this should prove to be that cursed day where a parent is told that they have outlived their child.
I received the news of my child. He managed to escape. I have no other information apart from that some children escaped through the window. I found mine, but we are still waiting for my neighbors' and friends' children. We are hopeful we will find them.
Many of those who perished in the fire burnt so bad that forensic teams have been unable to identify them.
It's a DNA process that will take quite a number of time, a long time, I beg your pardon. So please, a number of days. So don't really rush to make conclusions about the numbers, because at this point in time, we cannot really say how is it.
This incident is not a mere tragedy, but a curse that keeps repeating itself. Less than a day after this heartbreaking incident, a blaze at the Isiolo Girls' High School injured at least 3 students, while another fire raced down a dormitory at the Jia Boys' High School in Mawa County. These incidents have continued into the week, with the 4th and a 5th fire setting Bukhala Laya Secondary School in Busia County and Ortum Boys High School in West Pokot County ablaze. School and dormitory fires are nothing new to Kenya. Over the past 20-odd years, a plethora of such incidents have shed light over infrastructural and sociological issues that plague primary and secondary education in the country. A majority of school structures in Kenya are built from wood. This wood often falls below the standard necessary for construction, a problem further exacerbated by poor electrical setups. From faulty wiring to siphoning electricity, these structures, in the absence of regulatory oversight, cram students past their capacity. A more sinister angle to all of these incidents, however, is the possibility of arson. The Kanguli fire tragedy many years back was found to have been intentionally started by 2 16-year-old boys who doused the roof of their dormitory with petrol and set it on fire. Since then, copycat cases have popped up across Kenya. In 2017, 10 students died in an arson attack at Moi Girls High School in the capital city of Nairobi. It remains to be seen if the recent resurgence of deadly fires engulfing Kenyan schools fall into this dark pattern. Nevertheless, these recent few cases have proven to be a wake-up call for Kenya. It shall be seen if the lessons learned from these tragic cases bring in oversight to prevent the nation's future from going up in flames.
The results of the Algeria's presidential elections are out. The country has overwhelmingly voted and re-elected incumbent leader Abdelmadjid Tebboune after voting concluded over the weekend. As per Algeria's electoral authority, preliminary results reveal that Tebboune secured 95% of the vote in Saturday's elections in a clear mandate. His political rivals received 3% and 2% of the vote share, respectively. Here is a report.
The two unsuccessful candidates in Algeria's presidential election contested the turnout and percentage of votes they won in the weekend ballot, denouncing it as fraud.
We do not recognize these results and we do not accept them. They are not real results. These results harm the country, harm the interests of the country. They harm the country's future, the political process, and all the works that would enable the country to emerge from the situation until the Constitutional Court examines these results in a way that preserves the country's dignity. This will preserve the political process and the real results.
Hassani, who heads the moderate Islamist party, the Movement of Society for Peace, said he had lost the battle but not the war. He was one of the two challengers to Tebboune, the second being Youssef Aouche of the center-left Socialist Forces Front.
Even if we are not very optimistic about the conditions for organizing free, transparent and fair elections, the announcement of false figures does not even correspond to the statements presented by the polling stations to the candidates' representatives with the votes cast. In reality, this amounts to circumventing the will of the people. It also means inflating the results of several polling stations in an unacceptable way.
Both opposition candidates have appealed against the preliminary figures in the Constitutional Court. The court is expected to review all appeals and validate the final results. However, after the announcement of results, many were seen celebrating the election outcome, highlighting the need for stability and expressing satisfaction in the popular approval for the leader.
We're so happy. You can't imagine how happy we are. Our people are happy. We got this result in accordance with the law. No one can say that it is a stolen vote or that it is not fair.
I'm happy. I don't care whether he likes it or not. I really like him. I don't know much about him, but I have a good feeling about him.
Despite the overwhelming majority for the incumbent, the voter turnout has come under the scanner. Voter apathy among Algerians is not uncommon. On the election day, many polling stations in Algeria's capital alone remained empty. The Election Commission has declared 48% average voter turnout this election. But the polling body has not revealed how many people from the 24 million registered voters actually stepped out to cast their ballot. While ANIE has called the 48% turnout figure as provisional, its accuracy has still come under question. Africa Bureau, WION, World is One.
South Africa recently welcomed 3 injured children from Gaza through the Gift of Mobility campaign. This is a private initiative focusing on restoring mobility to those children who lost limbs during the war in Gaza. Here's a detailed report.
South Africa's support for the people of Palestine is unwavering. And in order to boost this support, W.H.O Private Hospital in Pretoria and a non-profit organization called Meal SA partnered with Palestine Children Relief Fund to bring wounded Palestinian children to the country for treatment.
Effectively, it's a program which started last year, November, and was literally inspired by my meeting with Dr. Mads Gilbert, a very famous, well-known Norwegian trauma medical specialist. And I had a meeting with him in South Africa, and he said, you know, Ismail, what can we do? And he inspired me to actually reach out and see whether South African doctors could play a role, you know, in sort of alleviating the burden on the healthcare system in Gaza and Rafah. And essentially, you know, at that point, as one of the directors at W.H.O Private Hospital, my partner, the CEO of this hospital, Dr. Iftikhar Ibrahim, you know, we shared some information, we had some discussions, and we reached out to see, you know, to various Palestinian authorities and healthcare practitioners to see whether it would be possible to bring these kids across to South Africa.
The children that have arrived in South Africa need critical medical treatment. All three, aged 9, 17 and 2 years, are being taken good care of as per Dr. Mitha. 17-year-old Lina Ziad Hassan has already undergone surgery and is now able to walk.
Lina, our second patient, was taken to theatre on Saturday morning, and she received a hip replacement and is now able to walk. So, gift of mobility in motion, reality, you know, and Lina is now in a position to walk again. You know, having not been able to walk for almost 9 months while she was waiting for the surgery to happen.
W.H.O Private Hospital and Meal SA have asked other hospitals in South Africa to provide medical treatment for injured Palestinian children. Meanwhile, Dr. Mitha says they are expecting more children to arrive in the near future.
I have had discussions with PCRF regarding the next group of patients. We're wanting to concentrate on patients who've got mobility issues, the amputees, and orthopedic surgery specifically, and burns. So there are a number of patients who are sort of been recommended to travel to South Africa. We will now review their medical records, and then our team will assess the cases, and if we are in a position to really add value and assist these cases, we will accept and then obviously give the green light for them to travel.
Since the war in Gaza began on 7th of October last year, over 17,000 children have been killed while thousands are still missing. The World Health Organization says about 5,000 people have been evacuated for medical treatment outside of Gaza, with another 10,000 still awaiting evacuation. Africa Bureau WION, World is One.
1 year after Storm Daniel devastated Derna and surrounding cities in Libya, resulting in over 5,000 deaths and displacing thousands, the city is slowly beginning to recover. Local efforts, bolstered by international aid, are helping Derna rebuild after the catastrophic storm.
September 10th, 2023, in North Africa, Libya's city of Derna experienced unimaginable horrors. 2 dams buckled under the pressure caused by Storm Daniel and broke wide open. Floods raged through the streets of Derna as families lay asleep, unaware of the catastrophe that was at their doorstep. Within moments, buildings came crashing down, floods sweeping away everything and everyone that came in its way. 1 year on, Derna recounts the tragedy, with no confirmation on how many died in the calamity. A UN report from November last year pegs the death toll at 4,352, while over 8,000 people are still missing. More recent numbers say over 5,000 have died. Volunteers spend days trying to search and pull out bodies from the sea, but each passing day, the ordeal became more challenging. Finding people became a more urgent objective than aid.
We do not need aid, not even medication or equipment, nor doctors or ambulances. Thanks to God, we have 400 ambulances that took off. But we have a problem in retrieving the bodies from the sea. The Libyan Navy, divers and frogmen are putting all their efforts into retrieving the bodies.
In the aftermath of the disaster, the government's shortcomings were laid bare. In July this year, a Libyan court sentenced and jailed 12 officials in connection with the collapse of the dams. The World Meteorological Organization observed that the scale of tragedy could have been avoided if Libya had a functional weather service to issue public warnings. But the country, battered and bruised by over 12 years of conflict and political turmoil, has a long way to go. The problems in governance reflect in the slow recovery of Derna. Over 12 months since the deadly floods, residents and workers in the area lament about the progress being plagued by politics. Over 4,000 Libyans were displaced last year, most of whom continue to live in dire conditions, waiting for the city to be rebuilt.
We were hoping for better. The companies doing the work on our street, one of the worst affected areas, are making slow progress. They should have taken care of it first. That would have been comforting because there have been deaths here. But unfortunately, things are moving slow.
Derna, which was once home to more than 120,000 inhabitants, has become a vast construction site. But the country's divided political establishment has become a hurdle. Libya is reeling under a power struggle between an internationally recognized Tripoli-based government in the west and a rival administration in the east, backed by Haftar. Tragically, the efforts to rebuild Derna has no oversight from the power corridors in Tripoli, and its residents are paying the ultimate price. Africa Bureau, WION. World is One.
Mozambique has approved Africa's largest mangrove restoration. The project aims to plant 200 million trees in a span of over 60 years. The trees will restore Mozambique's degraded coastline and create around 5,000 forestry jobs.
Mozambique, a country located in Southeast Africa, has an extensive mangrove ecosystem which has been damaged by cyclones and flooding, as well as logging and clearing. Now, a Gulf-based developer, Blue Forest, has bagged the license for Africa's largest mangrove restoration project. The company's CEO says that they will start planting the first of the 200 million mangroves in Quelimane, Zambezia this November. This will be in line with the start of the rainy season in Mozambique. The project aims to cover an area spanning 155,000 hectares, twice the size of Singapore. Over its 60-year lifespan, the Moz Blue project is expected to remove about 20.4 million tons of CO2, contributing towards efforts to mitigate climate change. Mangroves are one of the world's most efficient plants at capturing carbon dioxide. Their tangled roots stabilize coastlines and reduce erosion, also providing shelter for fish and other creatures. Africa Bureau, WION, World is One.
Prominent Egyptian archaeologist and former antiques minister Zahi Hawass has launched a petition for the return of the pharaonic bust of Queen Nefertiti from the Norway's museum in Berlin to Egypt. Nefertiti's famous painted limestone bust was uncovered at Tal el Amarna, around 300 kilometers south of Cairo, in 1912 by a German archaeological mission which shipped it to Berlin the following year. More in this report. Thanks for watching this week's episode of World of Africa. Stay in touch with us on all our social media platforms and tell us about our show there. Until then, it's a bye from me.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at yo1.com.
Namaste. Hello, friends. We did Dr. Subhash Chandra show, popularly known as DSC show, for 4 years, from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Hello and welcome, I'm Ananya Datta and this is the edition of Race to Power. Let's start talking about people, power and politics. Our big focus tonight is on the US presidential debate. We get you everything, how the two candidates are preparing, what are the rules and how the voters are feeling in one of the most important elections in US history. Also about 10 days to go for elections in Sri Lanka, and amid the political bickering, the voters are making their demands heard. We tell you from a report on the ground. In less than 12 hours from now, the US presidential debate is about to begin. Even if Donald Trump is obsessed with crowd size and Kamala Harris is used to talking over as a senator, both will not be allowed to do either. And that brings us to tell you what we know about the debate. The 90-minute debate will be held at the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia. It is scheduled for 9 p.m. local time at ABC News Network. And no live audience will be allowed this time. Microphones will not be hot throughout the debate and they will be on during speaker's turn and muted when the other candidate is speaking. Now, this was a bone of contention, remember, for weeks as Harris was hoping to get the mic switched on throughout. None of them will be allowed to carry any props or pre-written notes. They will be given a pen, a notepad and a bottle of water. Neither will be allowed to interact with campaign staffers during commercial breaks. Trump won a virtual coin flip, so he has chosen to give the last closing statement, and that means that Kamala Harris will be standing on the right side of the screen. Neither is permitted to step away from their lecterns. Now, ABC World News Tonight anchors David Moore and Lindsay Davis will be the moderators. All rules